And welcome everyone to our live election night coverage. My name is Aaron Jordan. This is going to really be kind of unlike anything you have seen here on Fox 2 News. It is going to be live. It is going to be just completely raw. We're flying by the seat of our pants here. Numbers actually just coming in as I refresh the Detroit election page. Currently, Council President Mary Sheffield has the most votes, 1,029 votes, 43%. In second right now, Solomon Kinlock, Pastor Solomon Kinlock, with 22%. Santil Jenkins coming in third. Todd Perkins in fourth. Again, way too early to call at this point, but just a preliminary update on those numbers. We're going to be checking in with our reporters throughout the night live at each of the campaigns. But right now, where we want to start is with my friend and the anchor of The Pulse, Roop Raj, is joining us now. And Roop, we are really happy to have you here because this is just such a big night. We've got the mayoral race, and that could be history making in November. If Mary Sheffield wins, she would become the first female mayor in the city of Detroit's history. But really, right now, this is huge because this is going to be the first new mayor in Detroit since 2023.
Yeah, I mean, since, look, Mayor Duggan's been there for 12 years, right? And so the path has been set. All of the improvements he wanted to make, the challenge that any of these candidates, the four that you mentioned and the 7 or 8 and the 9 that are running right now, the challenge that they have right now is how do we take what Mayor Duggan did, move it forward, and even those who are skeptics of Mayor Mike Duggan, even those who had criticisms about Mayor Mike Duggan, know one thing, which is we have to take the work that was done in the last 12 years and figure out how to move forward. And so, yes, you know what? Mayor Duggan has been there for a long time. And I think if we just reflect for a moment on these preliminary numbers, no surprise. And I want you to keep that in mind, because when you look at spending and polling, those are the two things that everyone has to look at. And you mentioned Mary Sheffield. I mean, we're talking about $800,000 plus in the coffers for the Mary Sheffield campaign.
Wow.
What does money do in a campaign, Aaron? It shows a couple of things. It shows support, but it also shows influence. And if you have support and influence in an election like this, Aaron, as you know, the sky's the limit, at least at the polling place. And right now we're seeing those numbers with Mary Sheffield. I should point out, though, everyone was saying number 2 on that list of fundraising was Santil Jenkins, right? So she had the second most number of dollars in her coffers, but it looks like Pastor Kinlock, at least early on, and these are preliminary numbers, as you say, is also rivaling with her, despite not having those fundraising dollars. But no surprise with the 4 that you mentioned. Todd Perkins has been calling himself the neighborhood mayor, who's been going after the underdogs of the city of Detroit, himself calling himself kind of the same thing. He's saying he's an underdog in the race. He's looking out for the underdog in the city.
Exactly. And that's really the thing that you mentioned. The money aspect is really interesting to me, Roop, because what we were taught in government class, and I remember this from my high school government class, money wins elections. And you're seeing that with the spending numbers, especially with the Sheffield campaign.
You're right.
And it'll be interesting to see what happens once more of those numbers come in with the Jenkins campaign. But you see also the power maybe that some of these endorsements are playing as well. You look at what all of the endorsements that Sheffield has racked up. We're talking about we're talking about just a bunch of them, from city council to state leaders. You've got Solomon Kinlock with the UAW's endorsements, and that is huge. We talked about this at 4 o'clock in the Motor City.
No, you're right about that. Influence is also big, but I want to quickly just kind of point out some of the numbers that we were just talking about here. You said it. Endorsements matter. But back to the dollars for a second.
Okay.
I'm looking at the fundraising dollars right now, and you're probably going, "Why is he looking at fundraising dollars?" Because it's interesting that the order that you mentioned just now is exactly the order of fundraising. So you said Mary Sheffield is at right now, again, early numbers.
Yep.
Number 1 on the in the vote getting right now.
Correct.
Kinlock is number 2, right?
Yep.
Jenkins Jenkins number
Jenkins 3.
and then Perkins.
Yeah.
That's exactly the order of fundraising dollars right now. Mary Sheffield has raised $797,000. Kinlock raised $410,000. Jenkins raised $405,000, and then Perkins $230,000. So the amount of money you spend on a campaign, especially a grassroots campaign, matters because your name needs to get out there. Mailers need to get out there. You need to have money to run campaigns.
And I really just kind of want to take everyone behind the scenes. Roop and I work together every single night on the pulse, really starting from 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, going until after the show airs sometimes, depending on the political news of the day. This is a snapshot into our conversations every single day. We're trying to dive deeper to really just give people a deeper look at why things are happening, not necessarily just the what. So those numbers are really interesting to hear, and it's funny to see how that's playing out. And
it's mirroring. I mean, literally, the fundraising dollars are mirroring the initial results that we're seeing on a low voter turnout day.
Exactly. And again, Sheffield 43%. We've got Kinlock 22%, Jenkins 16%. Perkins is up to 7% right now. So that's really just kind of one of those. It's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out throughout the night. And again, just so many key issues in this race, Roop, as well. We're talking about, people bring up education all the time, but you hear a lot of talk about the neighborhoods and all of the things that we've done for downtown. And it's amazing to see how downtown has just blossomed, especially since bankruptcy. But the neighborhoods are saying, hey, what about us? We need to see some improvements too. And I think that's going to be a big goal for the next mayor.
That's a really good point. And Todd Perkins, speaking of the momentum that Todd has, we spoke with Todd Perkins. You remember he came into the Pulse. We talked for a little while before the show started and then during the show. The biggest thing that Todd Perkins is doing is saying, hey, who gets the tax abatements in this city? Why are big businesses getting breaks when it comes to tax breaks? Why aren't the people getting the benefits of some of this? So he's been kind of hitting the streets in a really smart way, which is to say, look, I may not be able to compete with the fundraising dollars of Mary Sheffield, but as Todd Perkins and Todd Perkins' campaign, I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure I get out on the streets and talk to people who've been disenfranchised in the city of Detroit, much like Todd feels like he was disenfranchised and elbowed out by big candidates in this election. So Todd is big on the neighborhoods. And you know what? I got to tell you, almost all of the folks that are on this list, I'm looking at Fred Durhal. He grew up in Detroit. He was a public school student in Detroit. Fred Durhal, by the way, his dad, if that name sounds familiar, Fred Durhal's dad was a state rep before he was a state rep, right? So Fred Durhal, I think it was 2015 to 2019, was a state rep in Lansing. And he told the Pulse, hey, you know what? I'm the only one who understands the connective tissue that goes from a city to the state. I'm the only one who understands how funding dollars from the state of Michigan and Lansing trickle down to the city of Detroit. And so that's been his thing. I don't know where he's fallen on that list right now.
Fred Durhal, actually, I can pull that up for you, Roop. Fred Durhal right now is polling at 4.29%. He is in... I'm a journalist, clearly I can't do math here.
Numbers.
He is, numbers. He is in 5th place right now behind Perkins. But you mentioned the state representative. He's pulling in a lot of endorsements from his former state representatives, talking most notably Mayor Andy Shore of Lansing, another former state representative. They served together at the time.
It's just interesting, though, Aaron, because how much impact do those endorsements have in a city race? And I would argue not a lot. And here's why. If you're running for governor and you get endorsements from all over the state of Michigan, well, then you're talking about some pretty big heavy hitters who have pockets filled with money and influence at their respective churches and communities. But if the mayor of Lansing has no influence on the people of the city of Detroit, right? So the close to 700,000 people who live in Detroit aren't looking to the mayor of Lansing to see him. I wonder what he thinks about who should be my next guy, right? Or gal. But it is an important note to say someone of note trusted me. And when you can say that, that's what an endorsement also means.
It really does. And a lot of people are probably like, who's Andy Shore? And respectfully to Andy Shore, because he is a super nice person, covered him when I was reporting in Lansing. But we're going to talk to you a little bit later in this hour, Roop, because you brought up a good point with the disenfranchisement. We saw that a lot with the 2024 election. It'd be interesting really to just talk about maybe, is that carrying over to this election as well? We'll see, because all politics are local. Are people feeling disenfranchised from politics as a whole? And also the gubernatorial race, because that's where the city's current mayor is going. But Roop, thank you for joining us. We will talk to you in a little bit.
I'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks, Aaron.
Awesome. Thank you, Roop. And right now, I do want to continue our live team coverage. Dave Kinchin, Fox 2's Dave Kinchin, is with the Mary Sheffield campaign right now. Dave, looks like a little bit of a party there. Again, polling 43%. That has to be some really good news for the people out there. What are you seeing?
Yeah, it seems like the music gets louder as that percentage gets a little bit higher. We're here at the Cambria Hotel on Lafayette downtown. Let's take a look over at the bar area there where folks are getting some adult beverages, you might want to say, as they look to their phones and they watch the tallying coming in, all of those returns. You know, this has been a contest for the ages, really neighborhood driven. About 6 to 8 mayoral forms across the city weekly. So many different groups across town that have been holding forums for all of the candidates. And of course, the city council president, Mary Sheffield, has made a point to get to as many of those as she could, really taking a neighborhood to neighborhood approach to her campaign, despite coming from a Detroit political dynasty, the daughter of course, the Reverend Horace Sheffield, a family that is very much a political dynasty in this city. The council president hasn't let that stop her from really going street to street, door to door, neighborhood to neighborhood to work for that vote after several years on Detroit City Council and becoming the youngest, if not one of the youngest people ever elected to Detroit City Council. So right now, it's very much people watching and waiting, getting fired up. I can tell you, there's a whole coordination to this campaign. It seems like they hired a production company. You've got a lot of folks dressed in black, wearing those headsets, making sure that everybody's in place. We are expecting the council president to make some remarks around 9:30 that could be pushed back. Of course, those numbers are coming in with her at the top of the pack at the moment here. But again, a lot of the folks you're going to see here are likely folks that the council president's father knows, going back to the old days of Detroit politics and Wayne County politics, people who have been around for a long time in the mix, and people providing her a lot of counsel as well. So we'll certainly see what she has to say tonight. Her remarks expected around 9:30, but that could be a little bit later. Again, this is a contest that's really shaping up to set up the fall general election campaign to be probably one of the higher, more visibly watched ones around the country. This could be really the first time that the city elects an African-American female mayor, and certainly the first time since 2013 that the city will be electing an African-American mayor. That's one of the things that many folks have been talking about in terms of the history of it all here. It did cool off a little bit here at night, which was a good thing as well. It was a little bit hotter. I wonder if maybe there's an insulation effect from the smoke related to the Canadian wildfires making things a little bit warmer. I don't know. You'd have to check with Rich and the Weather Authority on that, but we do know things have been cooling down a little bit, but then again, maybe heating up again as those returns continue to come through. For now, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Kinch, thank you so much for that report. And I have to say, it does seem like a party out there. And you mentioned the history of this. That really can't be lost on the people that are there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you were talking about the history of this, if I understand it.
Yeah, possibly becoming the first female mayor of the city.
Yeah, really, and we've seen a lot of younger mayors elected around the country. I think it's Michelle Wu who was one of the youngest mayors elected when she was elected mayor of Boston just a few years ago. London Breed of San Francisco, I believe the first black female mayor of San Francisco, but certainly one of the younger mayors to be elected. And there's been a rising tide of women in American politics, especially as cities are turning more progressive. You often think of Boston. I used to work with Tom Menino, the mayor of Boston years ago, an old school politician. We've seen that city become much more focused on younger voters and younger issues. We're seeing the same thing certainly in San Francisco. We're seeing the same thing in a lot of other cities. Mayors that might not, that certainly have the counsel of some of the older politicals who have been around, but that's likely to be the case here if indeed Mayor Sheffield, the council president, does win the general election. But certainly a lot of history that will essentially be made even here in the primary tonight.
And Dave, we will bring Council President Sheffield's comments to you live if that happens during this hour. We will also be checking in with several other reporters who are out live. Jessica Dupnack, Dave Spencer, Charlie Langton checking in on voters. So we will check in with you a little later. Dave Kinchin reporting for us live. Thank you so much, Dave. And we are going to take a quick break in our coverage here. 9:15, we are just getting started. Jack Nissen's coming up next with a look at the numbers. You're watching our live election coverage here on Fox Local. Welcome back, everyone, to our live election coverage. We're going to check in with Jessica Dupnack here in just a few minutes. She is working to get Sontiel Jenkins, former council president Sontiel Jenkins, to do a live interview with us. Again, we are keeping an eye on that. So if you see me glancing away from the camera, that's why. We want to talk about the race for mayor right now, because again, that is the big race we are following for you, because Detroit is really looking to elect its first mayor in 12 years since Mayor Mike Duggan took over the race, or took over the mayor's office during the city's bankruptcy. Here are the latest numbers as we have them right now. This is coming from the city's website. Council President Mary Sheffield is currently in first place right now with 43% of the vote. Solomon Kinlock, Pastor Solomon Kinlock, he's in second with 22%. Todd Perkins, attorney, is in third with 7.13%. And here we're going to get into some decimal points, so please stay with me on this. Council member Fred Durhall, 4.29%. And coming in fifth place, former Detroit Police Chief James Craig. He has just over 4%, 4.03% to be exact. Again, a lot of numbers that we're covering. The big takeaways here: Mary Sheffield in first place, Solomon Kinlock second, Sontiel Jenkins third. Way too early to call anything at this point. And it appears that we have Fox 2's Jessica Dupnack ready to go right now. We are going to go out to her live with Sontiel Jenkins.
This point in time, but here we are.
Yes, I feel good. It was a great day. We got an amazing response from voters everywhere we went today, and no matter what happens, I'm here with so many people who have poured their hearts into me and to this campaign, so I'm grateful. My family, my friends, I'm grateful.
It's been tight between you and Pastor Kinlock all along. The polls reflect that as well right now. What can you say about that?
I can say that I've worked as hard as I can in as many places as I could to get the result we're looking for. So at the end of the day, I left everything on the field. We will see how the numbers turn out, but I'm very proud of the race that we run.
I saw you hugging your mom back there, and even before the results are in, it's obviously an emotional moment for you.
It is. Yes, my mom, my sister, nieces, and nephew, my husband, my entire family has been so supportive, and they've been fantastic. Not just through this process, but just my life in general. So yeah, I'm just grateful.
You've been big on making sure that the funding, that the attention goes into the neighborhoods. Your party, your watch party, is actually in the neighborhood. Why was that important? And seeing everybody here today, what do you think of it all?
Because I want to be someone who walks the walk, not just talk the talk. I've talked about the importance of us investing in neighborhoods and paying attention to neighborhoods. And this beautiful development right here in the neighborhood on West McNichols and Livernois is a prime example of what we can do to help turn the city around all over town if they have the right support.
And what would you say to all your supporters out there who've been pulling for you this whole way?
Thank you. I would say thank you for believing in me. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for pushing me forward today and every day throughout this process. And I would say I will work very hard on your behalf every day that I have breath.
Is your intent to stay here until the results are in, or to be determined on where you're going to be or
yes,
what you're doing?
I plan to stay here until the results are in, and hopefully they will be in pretty quickly. Yes.
Please.
How close are you expecting it to be?
I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty close, especially in a race with 9 candidates. Every single vote counts. How close it is depends on, who did the best job of getting voters out.
I'm curious what do you say about, granted, we're only at primary night, but what would you say about this process, having obviously been a city council representative, a member, and also, what you've done in the private sector, but has any of this surprised you? Has it been more difficult or challenging to try and get out there with your message? I mean, I'm just curious, looking back over this race to this point, what you would say and what maybe surprised you, perhaps?
Yeah, certainly it's been more challenging for me. Our campaign was truly a grassroots campaign. It was a ground-up campaign. I was not in public office. I didn't have a large church or organization backing me. This was grassroots, vote by vote. So it was definitely harder, but it was worth it. And I think no matter what the outcome is, it shows what you can do, when people believe in you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you all. Thank you all. Thank you for being here.
And Fox 2's Jessica
That was
Dupnick.
Santil Jenkins.
And Jess joining us live now. Yeah, you were talking about what Santil Jenkins had to say there. And Jess, just some updated numbers. She's pulled closer, still in 3rd place behind Kinlock and Sheffield #1. But she has 13% of the vote now. Again, just shows how quickly things can change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't even think she's thinking about results at this point. She walked into the door here in kind of a neighborhood event space on the west side of Detroit just moments before you just heard from her there, hugging her family. I think she's really just overwhelmed in all of this. You heard her say she didn't hold a public office before this to kind of back her. She didn't have a big church behind her, as she said. So this is what she's calling a grassroots operation. And you see that grassroots momentum building in the polls. But as we've been seeing all along, her and Pastor Kinlock have been kind of neck and neck in this thing, and she says she plans to stay here, kind of take it all in, but watch those polls, of course, as we will.
Absolutely. Jessica Dupnick reporting for us live out there. Great work, Jess. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for your hard work. And right now, we want to bring in digital journalist Jack Nissen, who really I like to call kind of an expert on all things, everything. He's here to break down the numbers for us, Jack. Again, really pulling closer, like I was saying before, between Kinlock and Jenkins. Sheffield's kind of pulling away, but there's a number of other races we're following here as well.
Yeah, Aaron, I always think about the first couple hours of election night being very swingy. The pendulum will swing left, it'll swing right, and Steve Kornacki will be like, whoa, what's going on here?
You got your khakis on and everything?
Okay.
So are you going to be our Steve Kornacki tonight?
I don't have the eyes, I think, yet. Plus, I think
you need the glasses as well, but you got the rolled up sleeve.
There you go, right?
I like Steve Kornacki. You have a better mustache, I got to say, Jack.
That's my icon right here. Yeah, it's the mustache.
Kornacki's khakis and Jack's mustache.
Couldn't have named it better, and you said it live.
Like I said, unscripted and raw. This is what we're doing
Yeah.
here. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so there's a lot of other mayoral races going on, Aaron. We got him in Taylor, got him in New Baltimore, over in Macomb County. We got an interesting one in Pontiac. And then there's one in Hamtramck. And I find the one in Hamtramck to be really interesting because it's not the only city that's kind of got a big old FBI probe sort of hovering over it. But that might be playing a lot of roles in how people are voting. There's no incumbent in that race. However,
interesting.
There are some familiar names. Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised once numbers do start coming in. Credit to Wayne County. They're already coming in for Detroit, which historically hasn't always been the quickest to report stuff. Today, though, we are seeing a little bit more of that, which is why I would also like to point to our city council at large races.
Okay.
The one in Detroit, the one that's very interesting in that it's not interesting, is that name recognition and incumbency gets you everything, which is why, if I pull it up here, Mary Waters and Coleman A. Young II, both people already on city council, are polling well above everybody else. It's not a big surprise, only because I think beyond just incumbency and the money, as Roop was talking about earlier, but the name recognition plays a big role. That's why I think Sheffield is playing a big part in the early totals here. It's why I think Solomon Kinlock and Santil Jenkins, both big names in Detroit, have also been doing pretty well. Stretching out a little bit further, we are also following a couple of bond proposals, one in Livonia and one in Novi. No numbers in Livonia yet, which is a $150 million sort of refurbishment of the police and fire department buildings. In Novi, though, it's very tight. It's about 49 to 51% on the no scale for a $120 million bond proposal over there.
That's a lot of numbers there, Jack. You're doing a great job keeping tabs on everything. Jack is one of the digital journalists over there, really helping with getting those numbers, keeping them up to date on fox2detroit.com. We also have Brendan Vrabel over there who is crushing it as well. Have there been any big surprises, or have you seen any turnout numbers at this point?
You know, I find turnout to be kind of one of the more squishy parts of elections, and specifically August primary local races. I think Janice Winfrey, the Detroit City Clerk, predicted between 10 and 13% turnout. It's pretty low. It's not surprising, especially because, as some people already said, local voters really, or rather young voters who are kind of sometimes the sort of turnout machine in these bigger elections, aren't really showing up for these smaller ones, which is why the people that are really turning out are kind of the strong diehard fans of all these candidates, which is why I'm going to guess that it's sort of the tuned-in politicos that are really going to maybe make a bit more of a determination about some of these closer races. The bigger ones, like mayor, for instance, it's going to be the bigger names that are going to probably pull a bit heavier, but it's very early. I expected the first few numbers to come in around 9 p.m. We are half an hour past that deadline, and again, only the first few numbers. So we'll have a lot more. We're definitely tracking as much as we can on our Fox 2 website. I think what's sort of interesting about it is you get a lot of smaller names, which means a lot more numbers to report. So give us a little bit of patience as we get them up, but we'll try to be updated as much as we can, Aaron.
And we know the name of the game. It's 3 words. Well, not 3 words, really 1 word repeated 3 times. Refresh, refresh, refresh. That's what I'm doing over here. That's what Jack's doing over there, and Brendan as well. Jack, we will check back in with you in a little bit. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Aaron.
And we're going to check in with Fox 2's Roop Raj coming up next, again, talking about, those disenfranchised voters and the fallout on the gubernatorial race with Mayor Mike Duggan running. We are also going to check in with Fox 2's Dave Spencer, who is live at the Kinlock campaign. Stick around. We're back in 2.5 minutes. And we are back now to our live primary election coverage. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Aaron Jordan. Right now, we want to give you a look at some of the numbers that we have with the mayoral race. Again, Council President Mary Sheffield, 53%. She's pulling far away in first place. Tight race for second between Solomon Kinlock. He has a slight lead right now at 16% over Santil Jenkins. She's got about 13%. We're going to check in with Fox 2's Dave Spencer, who is live at the Kinlock campaign right now. You saw Roop there. He will be here in a second. Right now, we want to talk to Dave, though. Dave, what's the mood that you're seeing there?
Aaron, it's been a party pretty much from the jump. Doors here at the Rooster Tail, right on the Detroit River, opened up at 8 o'clock, and there were already people waiting to get in. And then once they did get in, the music started up, the dance floor filled up. They had the air on initially, and I walked in, I thought it was a freezer, but now that this room is full of people, and I'm talking full, they've got the whole first floor here at the Rooster Tail. If you've ever been there, it's a large place. I'll step out of the way so you can get a little scope of what I'm talking about. But these are people that have kind of jumped on a campaign that most of them never saw coming. This isn't a guy who's been in politics for very long. He was a pastor. We're talking about Solomon Kinlock now for 27 years. And he said that he just felt a calling. He's like, service comes in many ways. This is something that he felt compelled to do when he found out that the incumbent mayor, Mike Duggan, was no longer going to be running. He threw his hat into the ring and was surprised but not shocked at the support that he got. We had a chance to speak to some volunteers who were there from day one, and they said they felt overjoyed when they learned that he was actually going to do this. They said they felt like they had a voice that was for the people. He's talked a lot about bridging the gap between the downtown area and the neighborhoods. He himself is a native Detroiter. He talks about those very humble beginnings when he was growing up without any power, utilities, or water. And he said that he kept hearing about the resurgence of other of other places in the city. But that's just something that he never saw. So that's where we are right now, is that the people are just energized. They're waiting for some sort of results to come by. You wouldn't know that it's a tight race because you would feel that Kinlock would have this thing sewn up just by the looks of it. So yeah, we're waiting to hear from him as well. We're told sometime before 10 o'clock is when we're expecting to hear Solomon take the stage. The podium is set. They've done a number of mic checks, but so far no one has really come down. Just the DJ kind of keeping things lively and moving around here. So we're just waiting, like you were mentioning. The race is getting tighter and tighter as the polls now have closed for about an hour and a half. Reporting live at the Rooster Tail with the Solomon campaign. Back to you.
Dave Spencer, looks like a party there. Thank you so much for your live report. And right now, we do want to bring in the Pulse anchor, Roop Raj. He is joining us once again. Roop, we talked about earlier the disenfranchised voters, and that I think plays a really key role, more than people expect. We saw that in 2024, that drove down turnout in several key areas in the state and really kind of handed the race to President Trump. We talk about how all politics are local, and I'm wondering if the disenfranchisement is really driving low turnout. And we usually see that for primary campaigns anyway.
You know, so you bring up a good point. Polished campaigns bring about polished results in certain circles. But if you really think about what happened in the presidential election with President Donald Trump, not once, but twice, but in 2016 and again in 2024, he talked to a bunch of people out in America who literally were like, what about us? And if you just think about those three words, what about us? If you were to apply that doctrine, so to speak, about people who are disenfranchised to Detroit, you end up with a bunch of people throwing their hands up in the air saying, what about us? And you know who grabbed onto that really tight? Was someone who's been asking, what about me? Todd Perkins, right? This is an attorney who has been an attorney in the city of Detroit. We've all interviewed him for many years. He's had his share of television interviews talking about cases that he's worked on. But the case that he took on was for the people of the city of Detroit. And he said, should the tax credits keep going to these big businesses? Because the success story of the city of Detroit that's being told in the New York Times, that's being told in Time Magazine, having the best riverfront, having 350 new bars and restaurants and boutique hotels, that all makes for really fancy headlines, and it attracts big events like the NFL draft, which saw 800,000 plus people. But in the background, you have people who are living in the city of Detroit who say, is my life better than it was 10 years ago?
Yep.
And they would probably patently say, yes, it is better. Because as we pointed out, the streetlights are on, people are doing better, police response time is better. However, it is that disenfranchised, what about us vote that is going to such a curious point to me in this election. When I think about Todd Perkins, I think about who is he talking to? But I also know Santil Jenkins. I spoke with her and she told me as part of her campaign, you know what she was doing, Aaron?
What's that?
She was heading out to rehab clinics, talking to people who are returning citizens.
Oh, wow.
Think about that for a moment. The people who are most dismissed. You know, you have the polished campaigns that'll go after, hey, this is the image of Detroit. We all want one Detroit and unity and all these things. There's a grittiness to the city of Detroit in the disenfranchised community, much like there's a grittiness to the disenfranchised community that President Donald Trump went after. And does that work? Well, you better damn well believe it does. It worked with Trump twice.
Exactly.
The president is going to work for someone else. But it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in this election.
And now that they're running to replace Mayor Mike Duggan, we've said several times he is running for governor, but as an independent. Right. And that's really going to be an interesting trickle-down effect. And I want to look ahead with you a little bit, too, because this is another conversation that you and I have when we're getting ready for the Pulse all the time. We're interviewing all of the gubernatorial candidates. It really comes down to, will Michigan actually elect an independent candidate? Will they go the way of electing a Bernie Sanders, which we know where he stands? He is technically an independent in his Senate seat in Vermont. Or will he end up just pulling votes away from both sides who really don't like either party?
That's a great point. The bigger the election, the riskier it is to run as an independent, bottom line. To run as president of the United States as an independent, you're risking losing a lot of dollars, a lot of votes. To run as a write-in candidate to be the mayor of the city of Detroit, guess who did that? Mayor Mike Duggan. And he won in 2013. And by the way, the guy who's challenging the election today, Mr. Davis, is actually the guy who challenged Mr. Duggan back when he was a candidate in 2013 and said, you didn't live in Detroit long enough.
Wow.
So you can't run in this election unless you're a write-in. So Mayor Duggan said, I guess you're right. I wasn't living in Detroit long enough, so I'll be a write-in. And he won the mayoral election. So I think Mayor Duggan is banking on his record. He's banking on the fact that he's done things before in a non-traditional way. And he's banking on the fact that people are sick and tired of politics as usual. When you think about his mantra, tired of the red, sick of the blue, or what have you, you know, he's saying, let's think independently about this. But let's be honest about what's happening here. Because what this mayor is doing is pretty smart. This guy who's running for governor. He's getting money from a lot of the people who donated to Donald Trump, the president. And he's also getting the support of the disenfranchised who feel like, what about me in the state of Michigan? So it'll be interesting to see how that moves forward.
Absolutely. And Roop, you have to anchor the news at 10, so I want to let you get ready for that, but always an interesting conversation. We've got another interesting conversation coming up tonight on The Pulse. Peter Trumbor, Chair of Political Science at Oakland University, is here. Sam Robinson, Malachi Barrett, two guys who have really covered this campaign extensively. And you interviewed Karen Dumas as well.
Yeah, Karen Dumas has always been a bit of a skeptic when it comes to all of the buzz around the city of Detroit's resurgence. She says we all should be a little more skeptical. You'll hear from her about her thoughts on the real challenges that exist for the next person who takes on this office. Of course, we're just whittling it down to 2 tonight. But out of those 2, whoever wins, she has some challenges for that person. Love to have you on The Pulse, too. You're doing an excellent job.
Thank you so much, my friend.
On the stream. We work with you every day. I'm not surprised, but I'm glad that I get to see you doing this because it's exciting for the people at home and you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. And actually, we talk all the time, every single day. What you're seeing, this interaction, the friendship, that is real. He is one of my favorite people I work with.
Same.
Roop Raj joining us live. Thank you so much for that, Roop.
All right, take us to the 10. Thanks,
absolutely. We are going to take one more break right now. We are going to talk with Jack Nissen about some numbers. Stay with us. You're watching our special live coverage of the 2025 primary. All right, we have some breaking news to tell you about in this race right now. The Associated Press has officially called one of the seats. Again, 2 people are coming out of this primary. One of those seats is going to Mary Sheffield, 53% of the vote right now. Right now, it is a race for second currently between Solomon Kinlock, who is in second place, 16% of the vote, Stantiel Jenkins with 13% of the vote. But we do want to go out to Fox 2's Charlie Langton, who is reporting live for us. He's got a couple of candidates he's speaking to. Charlie, what you got?
Well, I'll tell you what, Aaron. You know, listen, I know Mary Sheffield and Solomon Kinlock and Stantiel Jenkins. They're very important races, but there's another important race going on here, City Council, and at large, people that run the entire city to get a place on City Council. 4 seats, 2 seats are up over here, and I got 2 candidates right here, right behind me. Oh, excuse me, right here. Here we go. Now, you know, there's a lot of people here. Let me just get here. These 2 candidates right now are battling it out for last place. I know we don't have all the results in yet, and the results are not there, but it looks like these 2 guys neck and neck. Let me introduce you to the guy that is almost in last place, Lamont Adams. I like your shirts. How you doing?
I'm real good. How you doing?
You're not doing very well tonight.
It's all good. It's still early.
There you go. It's still early. I like the attitude. And then Gary Hunter, dead last. Absolutely. A photographer. But you did get the Shot News endorsement, though. How do you think about this race?
Well, you know what? You know better, Charlie. You know this is 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning return.
Right.
So I'm going to let you get this joke out of this. But, you know, in the morning when you wake up, don't ask for my autograph.
No.
Don't come asking for no hot coffee or tea.
Not at all.
I'm going to ask you to give me a $10,000 donation towards the general.
How much you spent on this campaign?
Well, you know, we ain't divulging none of that. You know.
Well, you have to.
No, we don't. If you're smart.
Under 10,000, though, I bet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely signed.
How much you
signed the waiver.
All right, how much you spent on this campaign?
It was just in the newspaper, Detroit Free Press. $4,500.
That's a lot of money. All right, listen. What do you think you do? You guys are running at large. You really think you can beat, you know, Coleman Young and Mary Waters, etc.?
Without no struggle, there's no progress, Charlie.
And we got to look at it this way. Yeah. We made some strong messages.
What was the message?
My message was we got 30,000 plus empty houses, and kids shouldn't be dying in the freezing. We have apartment buildings and apartment houses boarded up for 10 years. We should not have homeless people in Detroit. And that has come to the forefront, so much so that the mayor candidates are now making it their platform.
Real quick, your platform real quick.
Yes, I'm running participatory budgeting. And for those who don't know what participatory budgeting is, that gives you, the voters, a right to allocate the money how you want it spent. That's all.
All right, listen, we make a little bit jokes on you guys, but that's okay. You guys took the courage to run, and good for you. Some people don't even vote. You guys run, so give yourself a big hand. We get everybody on the show.
You can call on us, Charlie.
And Charlie Langton, you said it best. They had the courage to run. Kudos to them. And kudos to you. That was awesome interview. Thank you for taking the time, and thank them for taking the time.
By the way, neck and neck for last place.
Neck and neck.
I don't know who's going to pull this one out. I don't know, but
we are going to stay with you for updates on that one, because that is truly a neck and neck race. Charlie Langton, thank you so much for
dead last.
Dead last, unfortunately, but again, kudos to them for running. Charlie Langton, thank you so much. Good to see you, my friend. And right now, we want to talk to digital journalist Jack Nissen. He is going to update us on some of the numbers that we are seeing really quick. Jack, a lot changing here again. Mary Sheffield, in case you're just joining us, pulling into first place. AP calling it with 53% of the vote. And what else are you seeing at this point?
Yeah, Aaron, not a whole lot still. Although I will say,
I just like talking to you.
No, hey man, I like talking to you. It is a credit to Mary Sheffield that with 0 of the precincts fully reporting, that she's already been declared at least one of the winners of this primary. It is also credit to the rest of the candidates that it's so tight that it's going to be a much longer night, I imagine, for some of them, only because it's going to take a while for all these things to come in. I won't bore us with the trauma of 2020 when it took days for this stuff to come through. Everybody's kind of cleaned up their act a little bit more, which I can appreciate. I will say that the at-large seats, those are still somewhat in the bag for Coleman A. Young Jr. and Mary Waters. Moving on, though, I will add that down in District 2, we have Angela Whitfield Calloway. She's also an incumbent. She is kind of cruising on her way to another primary victory, I guess you could say. And then it's much tighter, actually, in District 5. You just take a look at the Wayne County numbers that are reporting. And again, not one full precinct has actually been reported yet.
Wow.
So it's going to take a little while, but that's a much more even race. You take a look over in Pontiac, the city council president, Mike McGinnis, he's kind of running away with things over there. The other incumbent over in Taylor, he's doing pretty well as well. And then I guess can rope us back around to the last results I've been kind of following, which is the Novi millage vote. The yes votes are currently in the lead, sir.
Awesome. And that's good to hear too, Jack. And again, really a race for second place between Solomon Kinlock. He's currently holding that second place chair. Santil Jenkins in third place with 13%. Kinlock has second place. We are possibly also awaiting, and I was just getting a note right there from executive producer Dylan Dahlberg, we might be getting Mary Sheffield speaking. If we get that, we will take that within the hour. Jack Nissen, thank you so much for joining us. As always, thank you for your hard work, you and Brendan Vrabel on fox2detroit.com.
Thanks, Aaron.
And right now, again, we are awaiting, you can see Dave Kinchin standing by. We are awaiting possibly Mary Sheffield to speak. If she does, we will take you to that. But right now, we are, again, just want to run through the numbers, and we're going to bring Sam Robinson in here to dive a little deeper into this race as well. If you're just joining us, Council President Mary Sheffield declared one of the winners of the Detroit mayoral primary with 53% of the vote. Clearly far and away in first place right there. Solomon Kinlock right now is in second place with 16%. It is about a 1,500 vote window, a difference between him and former council president Santil Jenkins. She has 13% of the vote right now. Again, we're following that one very closely because 2 candidates are coming out of this primary for mayor. Again, Detroit looking to elect its first new mayor since 2013 when Mayor Mike Duggan took office. And one person who has really covered this race extensively, really from the beginning, is Sam Robinson. He's with Detroit 1 Million. Sam, good to see you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Aaron, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And Sam, you might recognize him from the Pulse. He is a frequent Pulse contributor along with Malachi Barrett. He will be joining us live at 11:30. But Sam, I want to talk to you about some of the key issues that you're hearing about in this race. You've talked to a ton of voters. What has really been on their minds?
Voters are looking for continuity. They're looking for a mayor that's going to make sure that the garbage gets taken out, that the lights stay on. We received the 5th most federal pandemic relief funding. That was thanks in part to Mike Duggan and Joe Biden's relationship. Obviously, no more Biden, no more Duggan in the mayor's office. So how is the next mayor going to bring new resources, new revenue streams? We're talking about perhaps amusement tax. That's something that Mary Sheffield and Santil Jenkins have talked about. But really the thing that I hear most from residents is just a continuity of what's currently happening.
And a lot of talk, too, about the neighborhood, Sam, that we've heard as well. We see a lot, Roop and I were talking earlier this hour, about about how downtown really has been improved, and that is great. But people in the neighborhoods are saying, hey, what about us? And that's something that people really want to see the next mayor focus on as well.
That's been the through line of the entire election. Mary Sheffield has really dug in on what Duggan has done, while Solomon Kinlock has said, it's a tale of two cities. The neighborhood issue, the lack of development when Detroiters have to go to Allen Park or Warren to, go to a Target. That's something that you do hear from residents, and you've heard from these candidates in their campaign rhetoric and in their advertisements that you guys have seen blasted on the airwaves. You're hearing lots of talk about the neighborhoods. There's still lots to improve in downtown. I think whoever's the next mayor will have to navigate, both of those areas of opportunities of investment.
And I remember a couple of years ago, it might have been a year ago, and I'm thinking off the top of my head here, so forgive me, but I remember it was a relatively big deal when a Rite Aid closed. One of the Rite Aids closed. And that just shows that people really need options for pharmacies, for food, and really basic everyday needs. You talk about the development angle. There's a talk about education and talk about really just city services as well. It'll be really interesting to see, again, Councilwoman Sheffield coming out of this primary, but it's a tight race right now between Jenkins and Kinlock.
It is, and that's exactly, Aaron, what we thought it was going to be leading up to the night. There was some rumbling that perhaps Todd Perkins could sneak on Santil for that third spot, but it does look like the Triumph Church congregation is going to get its way with such a low turnout. I mean, you're thinking of 10, 15, 12,000 voters that are members of Triumph Church. They boast themselves as the largest black church in the country. They say they have around 40,000 members. If they had 40,000 members, not all of them came out to vote for their pastor tonight if they are all Detroit residents. That's something that you'll hear from some of his critics, that not all of the members live in the city. But they certainly came out to support their pastor throughout this whole process. Really, the entirety of the campaign, you've seen a huge turnout of these Triumph Church members. And of course, Santil was endorsed by the Detroit News. Michigan Chronicle co-endorsed her and Mary Sheffield. A lot of people were really hoping that it was going to be a Santil and Mary general election. She's going to have to find some votes.
Exactly, and really there could be history in this race going to, again, we've talked about this, Council President Mary Sheffield possibly becoming the first female mayor. She's had a lot of firsts. Youngest person ever elected to council, youngest elected council president. Will she be the first female mayor? She's got a lot of momentum in this race.
Yeah, she does. New York Times has already called this race. You're starting to see your guys' social media flood with Mary Sheffield has advanced to the general election. The general election is months away in November. That's November 4. We've been gearing up for this election since last year. We knew that Triumph Church and Mary Sheffield being the District 5 city council member, city council president for the last several years. And of course, she was the youngest to ever serve on Detroit City Council when she was elected 12 years ago. So yeah, Mary has a ton of things that she's going to be able to say that she accomplished going into the general election. I think the narrative that we're going to see emerge is that Mary is, this corporate-backed, Duggan-backed, and from the Kinlock camp, you'll hear that he's the grassroots. His campaign ad said, "Direct action is my life's work." So, backed by Sean Fain, I think you might see some of those type of narratives emerge leading up to November.
Sam Robinson, we got to go, but thank you so much for joining us. Our coverage keeps going on the news at 10. Again, Mary Sheffield, one of the primary winners. Solomon Kinlock, Santil Jenkins battling out for second place. Solomon Kinlock in the lead. Our coverage continues next on the news at 10. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.